So entrepreneurship has been gaining a lot of popularity over the last decade or so. So much so that there's a lot of people that are going into that domain without necessarily knowing what are their options. Well, on this video, we're going to talk about the two main categories that are available to you, which is entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. First of all, we're going to talk about what is the difference between both of those. Second, what is the proper fit for you? And the last thing, we're going to talk about some people and some examples that are entrepreneurs and some that are intrapreneurs coming up. If you're new here, my name is Christopher Dedeyan. Welcome to my channel, the one-stop shop for peak performance, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. So the first thing we have to look at is what is the difference between entrepreneur and intrapreneur. To do so, I actually pulled up the definition from Merriam-Webster, and let's go ahead and read it and talk about it. So the first one, entrepreneur. One who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. So let's go for the second one, intrapreneur. A corporate executive who develops new enterprises within a corporation. So these are both definitions. When it comes down to it, the reality of the matter is there really isn't a big difference between an entrepreneur and intrapreneur. They both think the same way. They both approach problems the same way. They both hire the same way. They both look at money the same way. The main difference, and really the only difference in itself, is that the entrepreneur is willing to put the money and invest his own money for his business. That is it. When it comes to an intrapreneur, he is more within the corporation. He thinks the same way, like previously mentioned. He acts the same way, but he's not the one that's putting in the money. They are both willing to work as hard, put in the risk as much, and really put that effort in the same level. But obviously, once you invest your own money, there's another level of risk, another level of stress and overwhelm that kind of comes with that. So that is why intrapreneurs respect very often entrepreneurs, because they're really number one when it comes to the global structure of a business. Now the question would be, which is better? So the second thing we have to look at over here is which is the right fit for you. Is it being an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur? Would you rather be an entrepreneur, start your business from scratch and go forward with that? Or be an intrapreneur, a part of a big organization, have access to their resources and grow within that organization? Now to do so, we have to categorize this to clarify which is the right fit in two categories. The first thing you have to look at is get massive clarity on which is the right step for you. And to do so, you have to ask yourself, how do you want to create your wealth? Is it by being an entrepreneur, an intrapreneur, a solopreneur, an inventor, a content creator, an investor, whatever the case is? Figure out how do you want to make your money. Once you know which one it is, then you're going to be able to go towards that so much easier. Now we come to the second point within this, which is figure out which is the next proper step. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, but maybe the next step is not necessarily being an entrepreneur. Maybe it's being an intrapreneur, figuring out what you need to learn and assume and consume the information within the organization to be able to go on yourself and then be an entrepreneur and really invest and take that risk, that financial risk within your business after you got the knowledge. Now, unfortunately, because entrepreneurship has been very popular the last couple of years, a lot of people are just going straight into that, not necessarily allowing themselves to be intrapreneurs and testing the waters within a safer environment, let's call it. Now that being said, that's not necessarily the right way either. You could just jump into entrepreneurship and that works for a lot of people as well. All I'm saying here is you have to figure out what is the proper next step for you. And furthermore, a lot of people think that, oh my God, I'm an entrepreneur, I'd rather have 100% of a smaller pie and that's okay, instead of being like, let me have a smaller slice of a bigger pie, which is going to be so much more worth it. So once again, all we're talking about here is have massive clarity on what is the right step for you, what is the proper way to you getting to that step. If you're seeing there's some value within this video so far, don't hesitate at all to give me one of these, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you can find out when our weekly videos come out. The third thing I wanted to talk about over here is give you some examples of some top entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. So the first one we're actually going to talk about is an intrapreneur who is Bob Eicher. Now the reason why I wanted to mention Bob Eicher is because I just finished reading his autobiography, which was amazing, and I'm going to link it up in the description below, and all the books that I'm going to mention are going to be linked up in the description below as well. So Bob Eicher started his professional career working at ABC. Once he went into that industry, he didn't necessarily like it, but he grew to like it and grow within the company. He had actually a dream and a goal to be the CEO of Walt Disney. And at a certain point, ABC actually bought off Walt Disney. So his dream became a possibility. And he actually became the CEO. Once he became the CEO, everybody was saying, oh my God, he'll last an average 4 years, because that was the average of the other CEOs within that position. But he actually stayed there for 15 years. During that time frame, he actually bought Pixar, he bought Marvel Universe, he bought Star Wars and George Lucas films, and he finally bought Fox. Those 4 transactions that he did were phenomenal. So much so that it helped Walt Disney get back on the proper track, because at the point that he became the CEO, Walt Disney was having a lot of difficulties when it comes to their business. He was doing so well as the CEO that his annual salary was $67 million. We're not talking about his net worth, we're talking about salary. So it's just amazing to look at. Somebody that's an entrepreneur, has never been an entrepreneur in a day in his life, has made so much money. There is possibilities to make that. The second entrepreneur that I wanted to talk about is Steve Baumer. So for my NBA fans, you guys know who he is. He's actually the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. His net worth is $71 billion. This man has never been an entrepreneur a day in his life. He was actually the employee number 5 or 6 within Microsoft. Listen, Microsoft is huge, right? There's Bill Gates on top. He was number 5 or 6. It really doesn't matter what position you are. If you're starting off an amazing company and you're within that startup, there's possibility for you to grow, and he's super comfortable within that role. So much so that he became such a great asset to the company, made billions of dollars, and now he's able to invest it and have fun within other things such as the NBA franchise. So this is another great example of an entrepreneur that is thriving. The first entrepreneur that I want to talk about is Sam Walton. Now, the reason why I want to mention him is because I recently finished his book called Made in America, which is another one I definitely suggest. Now, Sam Walton, after the end of the Second World War, 1945, he came back and he started working in the retail environment. He liked it so much that he started saving money and actually getting loans from his family for a total of $25,000, which was a lot back then. And he bought his first franchise, which was called Benjamin Franklin, which is once again a retail store in Arkansas. He worked in that store and got it to a level that became one of the best-selling stores in all of Benjamin Franklin, all over the United States. Now, unfortunately, he had an issue with his lease and he lost that store. Now, he was disappointed, but he decided to actually start Walmart, and the rest is pretty much history. He actually created a whole trend of discount stores. He has right now, all over the world, 11,500 Walmarts worldwide in 27 different countries. So this just shows an entrepreneur that was willing to invest his own money and put into work to really grow a business in such an amazing and huge way, essentially. The second entrepreneur I want to talk about is Jeff Bezos. Once again, I did read his book. Read it, go check it out. It's called The Everything Store. Now, for the people who don't know who Jeff Bezos is, he's the richest man in the world currently right now. His net worth is $190 billion, and he's the founder and CEO of Amazon. Now, Amazon is probably something you guys have heard of, right? You guys probably buy a bunch of stuff through them. But how he started, Jeff Bezos, in the beginning of his career, he used to work at Wall Street. And then he realized that he wants to go into this internet and really push that market in itself. Once he left Wall Street, everybody thought he was pretty crazy. He's like, oh my God, you're leaving a safe, secure job and you're going into something that's risky. Back then, they thought that the internet was a phase, like, oh, it's gonna pass, right? So he loved books so much, so he decided to go into the internet and start selling books. In the beginning, it was tough. He had to actually drive to the post office with his Honda Accord and ship the books himself. Now, all this to say over here is that it shows that somebody got the intrapreneurship while working in Wall Street and translated that to becoming a phenomenal entrepreneur and doing so many great things. And obviously, Amazon is not the only thing he does. He has another company called Blue Origin, which is a company that does space exploration, and his goal is to bring people going to space. And he actually bought Washington Post. So he's all over the place when it comes to an entrepreneur, but his main thing, his main passion is really Amazon. I hope this video clarified what is the difference between entrepreneur and intrapreneur, and you guys know what are the proper steps you need to take next to really have more clarity within that step for you within your journey. Now, the question of the day is, are you currently an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, and what is the right fit for you? So comment that down below. I would love to see what the community is, where the balance goes towards, and really start a conversation with that. Furthermore, there's some videos over here that could interest you. The first one's the playlist on all the videos I've done on entrepreneurship, and the second one over here is my recent video. Furthermore, there's a button over here that you guys could click, which is my profile picture, and you guys will subscribe to the family. It'll be my pleasure for you guys to be a part of this, and I really want to communicate and give you guys more content out here. So, that being said, I hope you guys have a blessed and grateful life.